It's Kirsten, and today I wanted to give a little bit of a more formal introduction of who I am and what I do and why I'm making the types of videos that I am on this channel. If you don't know already, I'm a freelance artist living in the San Francisco Bay Area. I specialize in illustration and graphic design, but I mess around with a few different styles and mediums and things like that. I have been drawing for close to 20 years now. Um, and I started taking art seriously as a career probably about 10 or so years ago. And for me, pursuing art as a career, it ended up not at all going how I expected it to when I was younger. My entire journey of figuring out what I wanted to do and how I was going to do it got completely thrown out the window, and I've been kind of figuring things out along the way ever since. Um, Starting all the way back in high school was kind of when I figured out that I wanted to be an artist. So I thought the simple thing was go to art school, get a degree, get a job, done, artist. That immediately didn't work out. I didn't end up starting off at the schools that I thought I was gonna, or that I ended up finishing at. I actually ended up dropping out of college before I ended up going to the school that I graduated from. I'll post a link to my whole art school experience somewhere so you guys can watch that. But I went to art school, and up until I went to a college specifically for art, I kind of thought I was pretty good. And then I started going to art school, and I realized, or I thought, maybe not. I realized how much competition there was and how much more advanced other students were compared to me, and I started developing this really bad habit of comparing myself to other people. But I was like, okay, like maybe it's just school's not right for me. Like I'm just drawing what other people want me to draw here, so I'm gonna graduate, and then I'll figure out what I want to do, and I'll be able to get hired in the industry with my own style. So I graduated with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more skill, a little bit more of an idea of what I was good at. And I did not get work right away at all. I finished college when I was 24. 27 now, and I still to this day have no clue what I'm doing in the long run. I really don't. Um, so part of why I wanted to do these videos was to talk about that experience, but I also wanted to talk about it because I feel like, myself included, but a lot of artists spend so much time thinking about what their career path is going to be like, or how to succeed in art, or how to like figure out what their journey is in art, that they don't consider that a lot of other things in your life can happen that make everything kind of go off the rails a little bit. Um, a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, was when I first started seeing a therapist because I'd been really angry for a long time, and I had been struggling with just really bad moods, and it was really affecting my relationships with people. So I started seeing a professional, and that's when I was like officially diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. Um, And at the same time, I was going through a lot of issues and changes with my family, with my friends, with my relationship life, with my personal life, struggling to feel like I was succeeding with my career, all of these things. So on top of the struggles with my career, I now had all of these other things going on in my life that were affecting me and my ability to function the way that I wanted to versus how I felt like I was capable of. And a lot of people, I feel like, they think, once you're diagnosed with something, you see a therapist or you see a psychiatrist and you talk your way through it, or you get prescribed your medications, or you figure out like the thing that fixes it so you can continue living your life. And the problem with that, if you've never experienced depression or any other mental health issues, is that it doesn't really work like that. Like it doesn't go away. So for me, like just because I was seeing a professional and just because I was learning to identify what was going on with me and how to address it, it doesn't mean the depression went away from me. And over the years, it's actually gotten more apparent in its ups and downs. Like I'll have upswings and be totally okay, and then my downswings will be particularly low. And over the past year or so was when it got exceptionally worse for me. And in that time was when I started to really notice that I need to start making some changes because I wasn't happy with where I was. and I started to feel really just completely lost. Like I started to feel like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I was struggling with these feelings of low self-worth and low self-esteem, feeling like my art was never going to be good enough. I was never going to get a career off the ground that was reliable, because I thought, by now, almost, I'll be 28 this year, like I should have had it figured out. I should have a long-term job. I should have something stable. And instead, I'm freelancing and struggling for work. And even though I'm in a stable place right now, since everything I do is based on contracts, that doesn't mean in a year from now I will be. And so all of that really started to culminate to a really bad place about a year or so ago, where I felt kind of like at my lowest point. Um, and I realized I felt a lot better about it when I started to talk about it. And I that's kind of when the ideas for these videos came along, because I wanted to discuss with other people these struggles that I had, because I had a feeling I wasn't the only one who was feeling that way. And maybe along the way start to work through some of the issues that I had, and start to find solutions that worked for me that might end up working for other people as well. Um, and that's kind of where my journey of trying to figure out what I was doing started. And I feel like I'm talking too much like in the past tense of like, oh, that's where I was. But the reality is that's kind of still where I am. A lot of these videos that I do on this channel are very much tailored around my progress and hopefully the progress of other people, working my way through issues that I'm dealing with at the time. Because it's not like I release a video talking about like, low self-esteem and then suddenly my self-esteem is high again. It's not how it works. But it does allow me to talk through a lot of the issues that I have and maybe feel like I'm saying things that other people can relate to. Um, and I think that's the first step to making progress, is figuring out where your issues lie and figuring out how you feel about them, and then slowly try to make progress, even if it's not immediate, even if it's not exactly the way that you hoped it would be. As long as you're making progress, I feel like that's something good. So the title of the vlog videos that I do, Trinkets for Pennies, actually came up long before I started filming these videos. It was probably about mid 2017. I was, as I mentioned before, in a particularly bad place in my life, and I was having an argument with a family member of mine, actually. And even though it is a family member of mine and I care about them a lot, we've always butted heads in terms of my career, and I think just personality wise and like values and how we approach things have always been so different that it ended up being a source of conflict for us. But we had gotten into an argument, and they were very adamant about letting me know that I was irresponsible and that I wasn't working hard enough, and that my career wasn't really a career, and basically telling me that what I was doing wasn't good enough. And the argument kind of came to a head when they turned around and shouted at me, "When are you going to stop selling trinkets for pennies and get a real job?" And that hit me really, really hard, because it was just someone who'd been in my life my entire life, who, even though I didn't get along with them, was still my family, saying to my face that what I did didn't have value, like it was worthless and it wasn't real and it didn't matter. And that really hurt, because it was like someone saying out loud all the insecurities I had always thought but tried to ignore. And it was hard. It took a long time to recover from that. Like, that stuck with me, because the first thing you think is maybe they're right. Maybe what I do isn't worth anything. Maybe it is just trinkets that aren't valuable, and I'm just wasting my time and I'm wasting my life doing this. And those thoughts stuck with me for a little while. But then I got mad, which was, I wasn't expecting that. I got really mad. I got really angry, because despite all the low self-esteem that I had and all the insecurities I had, it made me furious to think that someone else thought they had the right to tell me what I was supposed to be doing, and that what I was doing was incorrect. Like, there's a right way for anyone to be doing anything. And it really, that phrase stuck with me, but in a way that made me want to almost prove them wrong. And I know it's not necessarily healthy to go through life doing things to prove other people wrong, but at the same time, in doing so, that would mean I was also working towards success on my own. And in order to work towards success, that would mean I would have to make improvements to my life, make changes to my life. So that's when I first got the idea to start doing videos talking about my experiences, because I was like, this feels really terrible, but I know I can't be the only person dealing with it. So maybe it's time to start a little bit of a conversation about these types of experiences. Because for some reason, there's still this terrible misconception that being an artist is easy, which I don't understand, because I mean, anyone who's ever done any kind of freelance work or any kind of freelance art knows it's incredibly difficult. And yet I still have strangers telling me, oh, wow, it must be nice to sit at home and draw all day. That sounds like so much fun. Like, that's all my job entails. And so I wanted to kind of get past this idea that art is fun and easy and you get success right away if you draw well, and instead kind of address all of the other things that come along with it, that aren't always so great and people don't always feel like they can talk to other people about. So ultimately I wanted to make these videos because I wanted other people to feel like it was okay to be doing things at their own pace and to be figuring things out on their own path, and to not be exactly where someone else is, because everyone's life is different and it's not anyone else's place to tell you how to live your life. It's not anyone else's place to tell you whether or not you're doing it right or wrong, because there is no right or wrong way to do it as long as it's working for you. And so it's just, as much as I still struggle with all the issues that I have, I think it's really important to have that part of yourself that's still adamant and still determined to say that this is correct for me, even if it's not easy, even if it's not perfect, like even if it's not working right away, even if it's not working right in this moment, it's still the right thing for me. Because I realized for myself, and I have to remind myself of this all the time when I'm struggling with how down I feel about myself, that at the end of the day, doing art is my one consistent thing in life. I've always loved it. It's something that keeps me going. It's something I'm truly passionate about, and it's something I know I'm good at. And I have to remember that that's good enough for me, and I don't want to spend my life doing a job that I'm unhappy in or not passionate about just because it gets me a fat paycheck. Like, that's my perspective, and nothing on this channel is ever going to be about only my perspective and why it's the right way to do things. It's just going to be my story. So yours will always be yours, and if you can relate to mine, that's awesome. But I think the most important thing is to figure out what's important to you and stick with that. And for me, the important thing was doing what I love despite all the crap that comes with it. And I know people are going to tell me, like, yeah, but you can have a stable job and still do art, and you can have, I understand that, and I'm hoping someday I'll have a stable job that I'm very passionate about. That would be fantastic. But I've done the 9-to-5 thing. I've been, an in-office graphic designer before. I've done stuff like that where I just wasn't happy. Like, I wasn't doing work that I loved. I wasn't doing work that I cared about, and it made me miserable. It made me burn out, and it just became work. It wasn't something that I was passionate about anymore. So for me, figuring out what I was willing to put up with and what I wasn't was a big first step for me. And since then, it's just been, even if it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, slow progress forward to try to figure out what's working for me. And when I talk and do these videos, I hope it's something that other people can relate to as well. And it can make them feel better if they feel like they're alone, or they feel like they're lost, or they feel like they're doing it wrong. Because most people are like that at some point. And just know that as long as you're doing things in a way that you're happy with and that you love and that you're healthy, there's no right or wrong way to do that, as long as it's what's working for you. I'm really excited for this channel to keep progressing. I'm excited for the videos that I've done so far. I'm excited for the ones I'm going to do in the future. And I really want to thank you guys who've watched them so far. It makes me really happy and really touched that people have already seen some of them and felt like they could relate, or felt like what I said was meaningful to them. And so I really appreciate that, and I hope you guys continue to stick around. Hope you guys have a really great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.